And I walk up to like a memorial, and I'm waiting, I'm looking at it, I'm breathing, and this is about as much emotion as is happening. And so I say, cut, walk back, I do it again. I'm waiting.
This is what I do for a living.
Why are those people looking at me? And why is Bill staring at me? Why is he pacing? All right, cut, we're gonna do it again. I go back. And then Bill comes up at a certain point, he goes, hey, so I think you're gonna have to fake it. And I was like, understood, boss.
When I was maybe 8 or 9, I remember my mom saying, do you know that there's someone, you know, who looks like us, who's in government? Now that is something where you can make a difference. And so I followed his career, you know, since then. And I think he's one of the reasons I became interested in politics. And, you know, one of the biggest thrills of my life was to be able to meet him and spend time with him before his passing. I think there has been an evolution in the way that Asian Americans are portrayed. I think there's an evolution in the way all minorities are being portrayed in this country, especially now on television. There are a lot of breakthroughs, I think. We face limits in different ways now, and these limits are signs of progress. So in a sense, they're good problems to have. I've been lucky enough to play roles that have broken beyond stereotypes, and it's been something that I've made a conscious effort to do in the choices I've made in my career. Now it's time for us to take leading roles. When we start having shows and films where it's not a question as to what the race of the leads are, then I'll know we've made significant progress. I think the other place we need to go is seeing Asian American males as romantic leads. I think John, you know, had a breakthrough with Selfie this year, and you know, it's unfortunate that it didn't continue because, you know, that was a watershed, in my opinion.
I was raised by a grandmother who hated white people more than they could ever hate black people. She also hated Indians because she was part Indian, Cherokee, Choctaw. She hated black people for allowing it all to happen. She had a lot of people she didn't like, you know, and she bathed, she fed us, children and grandchildren, that bigotry. Yeah. And I had to unlearn it when I got to going to school up north in Michigan, and that was probably the best thing she gave me was her view of the world, because I knew it was wrong.
And I'm back in London at least once a year. Is that having been away for 12 years, I turn on the television, I don't know who anybody is under 40. And that's actually sort of exciting. And when they were talking to me about this movie, you know, I said, who else is cast in it? And I actually knew nobody. And that was sort of swell too. I mean, because one of the interesting things about doing this film for me is working with a great raft of young actors. And I think that in the last sort of 20 years or so, there's been so much more film for young actors to do than there was, you know, probably when I was in my 20s here. There were big studio movies, but people weren't really using film for television until, I suppose, the late 70s, early 80s. So there's a whole kind of generation of actors that I'm fairly unaware of, and had the best time working with.